Time flew by quickly. Xavier flipped and turned the pill in the cauldron numerous times. He was careful not to burn any ingredient he added. After all, he only had a set of 3 for each ingredient. He could not afford to waste them. Gradually, the pill grew smoother and more round. The luster on its surface made Xavier smile. As he moved his hand away from the fire outlet, the purple flame died down. He opened the cover of the cauldron and pulled out the pill. Carefully, he placed the pill inside a jade bottle. As he stopped focusing on the cauldron and raised his head, Xavier realized that the barriers between the contestants had disappeared. Everyone kept staring at him. Is the test time up? He thought. He took a glance at the clock in front of them. Seeing how late it was, his face turned red. Asa nodded. You ran out of time a few minutes ago. Oh, I see. He gave her an awkward smile. Hearing footsteps made him turn his head. Grandmaster Anthony and Grandmaster Tulun walked up to him. Good job, kid, they praised. They went to each contestant to inspect what pills they had created. Each pill was inspected for size, color, form, and quality. Not bad, Miss Yun. You passed the test, Miss Asa. Although there were some shortcomings in your flame strength, the pill is good enough. You also passed the test. Yun replied with a nod and a smile. She expected this. Asa, on the other hand, bit her lips as her shoulders dropped. Shortcomings in the flame strength. The old man just had to pick something to nag about, she muttered. Amongst the other 6 contestants, only 2 passed the test. The others looked devastated. There is no need to feel dejected. Anthony tried to encourage them. If you did not pass this year, you can attempt again next year. You all are still young and have plenty of time. He exchanged a look with Tulun, who agreed. Eventually they stopped in front of Xavier. Next to him, Yun and Asa were also curiously observing whether he passed the test or not. They were also interested in seeing how the flame affected the pill. Perhaps it would be higher in quality. They could only guess. Anthony picked up the sheet of paper on Xavier's table. He raised an eyebrow. A strength pill? No wonder you had to take so much time. This is rather advanced for a beginner. Some in the hall began to whisper amongst each other. They all knew that a strength pill was a lot harder to refine than some basic healing pill. This kid does show a lot of potential. This pill is something that even a novice alchemist that has some experience would struggle with. Anthony let the small pill roll into his open palm so that he could inspect the quality of Xavier's work. A pale yellow round pill came forth. On it were some dark green ripples. They made the pill look like it was some sort of exotic marble. Anthony was stunned. Pill patterns. Hearing the term pill patterns, the others gasped. Yun and Asa were also stunned. Their jaws dropped. When refining pills, those pill patterns only appeared on pills that peaked in luster and quality. Congratulations, Xavier. You passed the test, Anthony informed. Xavier smiled. That is great news, but, can I ask something? Of course. What would you like to ask? Anthony asked with a smile. Would it be okay if I can take the test to see if I qualify as a level 2 alchemist? He voiced. The smiles on Anthony and Tulun froze. Their faces turned pale. You want to take the level 2 test? They confirmed. Yun and Asa were also shocked to hear this. They exchanged knowing glances. No one knew how to react. Xavier's request led to astonishment. A 19-year-old level 1 alchemist was uncommon, but not unheard of. There was a handful of them within the Empire. However, a 19-year-old level 2 alchemist was something akin to a mythical creature. There was not one level 2 alchemist at such a young age recorded anywhere in history, at least not as far as anyone knew. Not even the famous Pill King Lucian was on level 2 as a 19-year-old. He also ranked on level 1. If Xavier passes the level 2 test, perhaps he could even outshine the legendary Pill King one day. The thought of this made some people in the hall shudder. Anthony and Tulun exchanged confused and concerned looks. Eventually, Anthony cleared his throat. Young man, you have shown outstanding abilities today, but you should not underestimate the level 2 test. If you want to pass the level 2 test, you don't only have to refine a level 2 medicine pill, But your strength must be equal to a true master. Have you achieved the rank of a true master? Yun and Asa furrowed their eyebrows as they watched the conversation intently. Xavier, who already felt uncomfortable at all the attention, dodged the question. I just want to try the test. Maybe I won't pass, but at least I tried. My master told me that I should give it a shot. You really want to take the level 2 test? Anthony was stunned. Why? Am I not allowed to? Xavier asked. No, that's not the problem. How confident are you that you will pass the test? Anthony raised an eyebrow. If this young man passes the level 2 test, there will be a new star in the alchemist's sky. This news would undoubtedly cause an uproar. Not to mention that it would be good publicity for the Obsidian City's alchemist society. Xavier tilted his head to the left and right, thinking for a good minute. About 50-50, I'd say. He did not want to sound too cocky. Otherwise, this might come to bite him later. To Xavier, 50-50 was a somewhat pessimistic outlook. There was a significant rate of failure when refining a level 2 pill. Even some of the more experienced alchemists would not guarantee a 50-50% success rate when refining a level 2 pill. However, the young man in front of them said these words so nonchalantly, and with a smile, that it caused the others to question his sanity, purple flame or not. 50-50? Is he for real? Asa stared at Xavier, with a look of disbelief on her face. That's a bit arrogant, she added. Can I take the test? If it's not possible, that's no big deal. I'm only making a temporary stop in Obsidian City, so I might get tested somewhere else if I have the chance. Xavier grew impatient. Not to mention, the people kept staring at him like some zoo animal. It became bothersome. No, wait. Anthony would not dare to lose an opportunity for so much good publicity. We will get the test ready for you, immediately. Don't worry. I'm really curious, too. He gestured to his subordinate, who understood immediately. The subordinate took a short bow and went to a side door in the hall. On it were the words, Level 2 Alchemist Test Venue. Young man, you better not be deceiving us two old men, Anthony warned. Of course not. I will try my best to pass. Oh, and I have heard that I will have some privileges once I register with your society. Is that true? Xavier stood up from the stone table. He stretched his tired shoulders. Sitting hunched over a desk for hours was painful for him. Grandmaster Anthony nodded. That is correct. When an alchemist refines medicine pills, they require rare and expensive plants. One person alone cannot run all around the empire to gather everything. This is why after you've registered with us, you will be able to enjoy the right to perform exchanges with other alchemists of our society. For example, if you are refining a pill and lack one of the ingredients that another alchemist here possesses, you are allowed to offer an exchange. The requirement is that both parties are happy to do the exchange. Our society will help to arrange such an exchange and help to complete the transaction. If your level reaches higher, there will be more privileges. This measure taken by the Alchemist Society clearly saved a lot of time. Xavier nodded. He looked satisfied. Moreover, it just happened that he did lack some ingredients for a pill right now. Perhaps he could find some here. After he registered, he would definitely get back to Anthony and request his help. Anthony's subordinate came back a moment later. He whispered something to Anthony, who nodded and turned to Xavier. All right, the level 2 test is ready. Please enter. Xavier did as he was told. Some of the other contestants stood up and walked to the door to take a peek inside, but Anthony quickly blocked them off. I am afraid none of you are allowed to enter. The test for a level 2 alchemist differs a bit. Whoever is interested to see if the young Mr. Xavier will pass the test is free to wait here until the result is back, he uttered. Asa let out an annoyed groan. Master, I just want to take one look, that's all. She walked up to Talon and tugged on his sleeves. You have to wait like the others. This has always been a rule at the Alchemist Society. With an embarrassed face, he pushed Asa away. Asa huffed. She crossed her arms in front of her, glaring at the door closing. All right, so be it. It's not a big deal or anything. As she saw Yun next to her, Asa turned to her. Do you think he'll pass? No idea. Didn't he say his chances are 50-50? He is either really good or really arrogant, Yun replied. Yeah, And here I thought we could impress the others by becoming level 1 alchemists within 2 years. Looks like we won't impress anyone after all. If that guy passes, everyone will talk about him. He already pisses me off." Asa flexed her teeth. "On a different note, I do remember you saying that no one from Obsidian City was able to surpass you. Looks like that wasn't true, was it?" A cunning spar lit up in Yun's cold eyes. "I did say that, but he isn't from Obsidian City, is he? I don't even think he's from the Empire." Asa softly snorted and laughed. "All right, you win. Do you also wonder who his master is?" "No, not interested. I'm sure my master could keep up with his, so who cares? Why are you so invested in that? Isn't your father the governor?" "I'm sure you are used to meeting powerful people," Yun replied. "Yeah, sure, but there aren't many powerful alchemists. Hey, how long is the time limit for the level 2 alchemy test? It's been like an hour." Asa took a look at the clock that kept ticking on the wall. Yun shrugged. "No idea. I never took the test. I don't think anyone else here did either." She turned to the other curious people that were standing and sitting near the door. "Do any of you have any idea what the time limit is?" she asked. None of them did. All they could do was keep waiting, and... The door was opened. Anthony and Talon were the first to exit. Their faces were as white as snow. Sweat was dripping from their foreheads. Everyone in the hall straightened up and held their breaths. Asa frowned. "So, did he pass or fail?" Anthony shook his head. His mouth stood open for a moment. He was unable to find what he wanted to say. After a moment of silence, he cleared his throat, regaining his composure. The young Mr. Xavier passed. It looks like our alchemist society has found the youngest level 2 alchemist in the history of the Empire." The entire hall was stunned. A lot of people began to murmur and gasp. "A 19-year-old level 2 alchemist? Is this some joke? How is this even possible?" Everyone looked at each other with awe, confusion, and shock. This must be some record. "Wait, that means he is a true master, doesn't it? How did he reach such a level at such a young age? This is terrifying." Asa mumbled silently, but Yun overheard her and agreed. Anthony and Talon smiled. After seeing the young man refine the pill, they could not help but be in awe. Although it was Xavier's first time using the formula the Alchemist Society gave to him, his outstanding control of the purple flame and accuracy in refining the essence made it appear as if he had done this countless times before. When Anthony and Talon were 19 years old, they were just beginning to understand the fundamentals of alchemy. Neither of them would have been capable of refining a level 2 pill. "I understand that the others must feel bitter," Anthony thought to himself. "I'm in my 50s, and I also feel bitter. Seeing such a talent will cause anyone to feel inferior. I wonder who his master is." Talon had similar thoughts. He turned to Anthony. "This young man's talent is outstanding. However, I don't believe that his purple flame is a heavenly flame. It is not that potent. But I suppose that does not really matter. Who knows where he got the purple flame from? There are many strange items and abilities in this world, and someone is always the first to discover them." "That is true. Mr. Xavier, you can come out. Don't worry about cleaning up. We will have someone do it for you. Just pack your things." Following Anthony's voice, Xavier stepped out of the room. He brushed some of the dust from the ingredients off his clothes. As he looked up, he saw that everyone present stared at him with wide eyes and open mouths. Anthony waved to his subordinate. He hastily cleaned up the cauldron and ingredients Xavier left behind, and a moment later, returned with a jade plate with a black robe on it. The robe was folded neatly. Anthony took the plate and began to explain. "This is a special robe for a level 2 alchemist. The material was soaked in a pool of medicine that was created by our society. If you wear it, the robe will emit a scent that will help you to stay alert and focused. It will also cause your soul performance to be more sensitive. This will help you to keep your flame under control when refining pills. Moreover, its defense is even stronger than some armor, and it provides immunity to some weaker poisons. If it were not for the cost, the Empire would produce these robes in bulk to equip their soldiers." Xavier gazed in awe at the robe. No wonder so many alchemists join the Alchemist Society. Those incredible benefits are very tempting. His eyes stopped at a badge that was placed on the region of the chest. It displayed an old cauldron. 2 waves emitted from it. The light that shone on it made it appear as if those waves were alive. Instinctively, Xavier traced them with his fingers. They felt cool to the touch. It must have been real gold, or something equally extravagant. He could not tear his eyes away from it. Before taking the test, he tried to play it cool. He was worried that otherwise he might embarrass himself. But having passed the test, he could not hide his excitement anymore. Now he could officially call himself an alchemist, a level 2 alchemist at that. Carefully, he lifted the robe off the plate, as if he was worried he could damage the fabric, though that was a silly thought after Anthony's speech about how the fabric was made and what it could do. As soon as he pulled the robe over his body, he felt refreshed and awake, like he was dipped into a pool of cool water on a hot summer day. Anthony was not exaggerating. The scent the robe emitted did cause Xavier to feel more awake than before. Anthony looked pleased. Xavier looked like a completely different person. Within the hall, Yoon and Asa were also amazed to see the sudden change. Xavier beamed with joy. Much to Anthony's happiness, the power an alchemist would gain in his life was immense. Having someone with as much potential as Xavier enjoy his stay in the Alchemist Society was a must. Anything else could have been a death sentence. "All right, everyone, the tests are over. Everyone please leave the hall." Anthony clapped his hands. Immediately, everyone that was gathered stood up, got their stuff, and made their way out of the hall. Many were chatting loudly. Most of them were talking about Xavier. None of them could believe what they saw. Asa and Yun rolled their eyes and sighed. They knew that Xavier was going to be the talk amongst alchemists for a decade to come, and they were already sick of hearing about it. Once everyone was gone, Xavier was stopped by Anthony, who placed a hand on his shoulder. Next to him was Talon. "Do you have a moment to talk?" "Sure, I have some questions too," Xavier said. "Of course, I understand. Miss Asa and Miss Yun, the both of you should go with the others and pick up their level 1 alchemist badge and robe on the way. I'm afraid Grandmaster Talon, me, and Xavier will need a few minutes here," Anthony informed. Asa groaned. Hearing this, Yun kicked against her ankles. "Shut up and let's go. If you're unhappy about Xavier getting special treatment, you can go and take the level 2 alchemy test yourself." Asa's shoulders dropped. Without further complaint, she followed Yun. Once they were out of the hall, Anthony and Talon led Xavier to a side door. Anthony opened the door. Behind it was a small study, comfortable enough for about 5 people to sit in. In the middle was a desk, and several chairs were placed around it. Anthony pulled one of those chairs from under the table and gestured to it. "Please, Xavier, take a seat." Xavier sat down. He did not beat around the bush. "Grandmaster Anthony, Grandmaster Talon, if either of you have any questions, ask. I will do my best to answer any question as well as I can." Anthony chuckled. He figured that Xavier was more inclined to keep his secrets. The ambiguity in his words spoke for itself. "As good as you can, I see. Well, I'm sure this will be good enough. Since you registered with our Alchemist Society, we need to do some administrative work. I know it is boring, but we are required to do so by our rules. I do apologize. I imagine you have other things on your mind. I'll try to keep it brief. All right, let's see. Oh, yes, of course. Regarding your master, we did some double-checking. However, the information we've been given appears to be incorrect. There does not seem to be any alchemist master or grandmaster under the name Yao Lao." Anthony looked up from a sheet of paper, where he read the information from, and gave Xavier a questioning glance. Xavier was not bothered by this. "I am sorry, but before I left, I promised my master not to reveal any personal information about him. He is a very secluded person, and likes to keep his privacy," he explained. Anthony and Talon were not surprised to receive this as an answer. This was nothing out of the ordinary for an alchemist. Many alchemists grow either paranoid or annoyed as they age. People would constantly bother an alchemist if they recognized them on the street. This was something Anthony also began to experience as of late. People would walk up to him and ask him for refined pills and potions in exchange for cheap ingredients, cheap family heirlooms. It had gotten so out of hand that he would often conceal his identity to be left alone. Other alchemists who were more powerful than him ended up paranoid. They did not want anyone snooping around in their files, looking for their formulas and secret techniques. Those alchemists would look for the most dangerous and secluded place they could find, and set up their home there. Anthony was far from having to do something so drastic, but he understood why someone would be interested in doing that. Don't worry, Xavier. We won't make things difficult for you or your master. We know that there are people within the Empire who have a lot more power than most people could imagine. We also know that those people wish to be left alone, and of course, we respect that. The other thing we are curious about is your purple flame. Where and how did you obtain it? It is a rare thing for someone of your age to possess such a flame. We assume it is not a heavenly flame, or are we wrong? Anthony asked. Xavier laughed. God, I wish it would be a heavenly flame, but no, it is not. Please don't ask me to go into detail. Otherwise, we would be here all day. But to cut a long story short, I ran into a winged amethyst lion in the Shenqi mountain range, or the mountain range of monsters. The winged amethyst lion spat fire at me for some reason. I guess I might have stepped into its territory or something. Anyway, I had something with me that protected my life. Otherwise, that monster would have burnt me into a pile of ash. After the incident, I realized that I could summon this purple flame. A winged amethyst lion? Anthony and Talon thought they had misheard. That explains it. I have heard of alchemists who tried to obtain the flame of a winged amethyst lion. You really got lucky, kid. Not many would survive an attack of such a high-leveled monster. Incredible. Anthony took a deep breath. I suppose it would be better if we stopped wasting your time. We had some other questions, but I don't believe you would be inclined to answer them. Either way, you did mention that you have some questions yourself. Xavier opened and closed his mouth as he stared at the two men. He rubbed the back of his head. Well, it's not like really a question about alchemy. I wanted to ask a favor. I need something, and you did mention that I am allowed to do exchanges with other alchemists now. So I figured asking won't hurt. Of course, we'd gladly help. What do you need? Anthony asked. I am not sure if you can get it. It's very rare, but, it is called Ice Spirit Fountain, Xavier replied. He cleared his throat. Young man, the Ice Spirit Fountain is exceedingly rare. With your current ability, I am not sure why you would need such a prestigious item. Xavier waved him off. My master requested it. Do you know of anyone who possesses one? I don't care how many gold coins they want for it. I'd pay anything. Anthony raised an eyebrow. Suddenly, he burst into laughter. Talon, who was sitting next to him, did his best to hide his own laughter by coughing into his fist. As he stopped laughing, Anthony shook his head. That kid is really something. A level 2 alchemist thinking he can buy ingredients like that. Again, he cleared his throat. Look, kid, we are alchemists, and you are also an alchemist. I am sure you know how rare this item is. Shouldn't you know by now that alchemists don't care about gold coins? You cannot weigh rare ingredients up with gold. Only a fool would do so. You need to offer something in exchange. Xavier turned red. I thought as much. I was hoping I was wrong, though. It would have been easier to buy it, but I guess it can't be helped. Can you please check if someone has an Ice Spirit Fountain? I will try to find something that I can make an exchange with. I do have a storage ring full of ingredients that I have gathered in the mountain range of monsters. There should be something that an alchemist would be interested in. Anthony sighed. All right. We will check. Please wait for a moment. Grandmaster Talon? Grandmaster Talon understood. He stood up and walked out of the study. Xavier gave Anthony a confused look. With a smile, Anthony explained. The old man is the deputy chairman of our alchemist society. He is the one in charge of business deals. He should be back soon. Is there anything else you would like to ask me in the meantime? Xavier thought for a moment before shaking his head. His eyes wandered to the floor. He began to count some of the patterns he saw on the stone out of boredom. Impatiently, his fingers tapped against the armrest. Meanwhile, Anthony made himself a cup of tea. I wonder why this Ice Spirit Fountain is so important for his master. Anthony wondered. After a few minutes, Talon returned. In his arms was a thick, heavy book. It must have been ancient. Pages were torn out and placed inside again. Many stood out from weird angles. Grandmaster Talon let the book fall onto the table. He shook his head as he faced Xavier. I do apologize, but I could not find anyone in possession of the Ice Spirit Fountain. It really is exceedingly rare. I do remember that there once was a level 4 alchemist who had found one embedded in ice. But due to negligence and poor preservation, the item had been destroyed. Truly a shame, he informed. Xavier frowned. The disappointment was all over his face. Oh, well, if that's how it is, then I guess it can't be helped. I will stop bothering the two of you and move on, he replied. Seeing Xavier's disappointment, Anthony straightened up. He gestured to Talon. Are you sure there is no ice spirit essence at all? Did you check everywhere? I am afraid so, Talon answered. He looked away, avoiding both Xavier's and Anthony's eyes. Something must have been on his mind. Anthony sighed. He pushed his lips together and swallowed. All right then, that is unfortunate. We do apologize. We would have gladly helped an alchemist with so much potential. Xavier was about to stand up and take his leave, when suddenly Talon spoke up. Wait a moment, please. Do you really need this Ice Spirit Fountain? Yes, I really do. I'll do anything for it. Xavier let himself fall on his chair. His eyes pierced through Talon. Anthony was confused. He knitted his eyebrows together. What are you implying? Do you have an Ice Spirit Fountain? Hastily, Talon shook his head. No, I'm afraid not. But I have seen it before, in the home of someone I've met. Oh? Where? Whose home? Xavier's eyes lit up. Talon swallowed hard. I should perhaps mention first that the guy who had it in his home won't part with it unless you can offer something of interest to him. I am not sure what you consider to offer as an exchange, but it has to be something truly rare and potent. Otherwise, you won't get what you want. All right, I understand. Who is this man? Xavier questioned. Anthony seemed to connect the dots. Talon, you are not talking about that weird man Baltu. Even if he had the Ice Spirit Fountain, I don't think Xavier would be able to get his hands on it. That weird man is too petty and too obsessive of his collection. Collection? Wait, who is Baltu? Xavier looked between Anthony and Talon, waiting for an explanation. Talon clicked his tongue. Baltu is also an alchemist, although he is only a level 3 alchemist. His power is remarkable. Many other alchemists praise his talent for gathering rare ingredients and items. His collection attracts attention even from the other empires. Is he a member of the Alchemist Society? Asked Xavier. Anthony laughed bitterly. That guy and an Alchemist Society? No. He would not be happy here, and we would not be happy either. He is rather aloof. Baltu prefers to stick to himself and his collection. He does not even want to reach a rank above level 3, though I suspect it should be easy for him to take the test and become a level 4 alchemist. But that is for the better. He only shows up if he wants another addition to his collection. If he discovers something he wants, he won't stop bothering the owner about it. Trust me, you will get a headache from this guy. If you'd ask me, I don't think the Ice Spirit Fountain would be worth it. Talon laughed, remembering something. A spark of mischief was in his old watery eyes. You should admit that it was your fault for bragging about the purple blood mushroom that you have found. If you hadn't bragged, we would have never known about it. Anthony groaned. Just thinking about it makes my head spin again. He pestered me for an entire year about this damned mushroom. How can you be so stubborn? It's not healthy. Xavier was confused as he saw their annoyed and helpless expressions. But aren't you both level 4 alchemists? Why don't you tell him to get lost? Anthony laughed bitterly. We do both rank higher, but unfortunately, no one dares to offend Baltu due to his connections. Connections? Xavier repeated. Anthony hummed. Yes, indeed. I am sure you know how important connections are for us alchemists. Baltu happens to have an incredibly powerful brother. There is not a single soul that would dare to offend him, and Baltu is more than willing to take advantage of this. Powerful brother? Who in the Empire could have so much power? Xavier's curiosity grew. He could not think of anyone with so much power that even alchemists did not dare to offend him. Talon pushed his lips into a thin line. I am certain you've heard of his brother before. It is the legendary Pill King Lucian. If Baltu were not under Lucian's protection, his collection would have been raided countless times. The Pill King? No wonder. Now Xavier was able to make sense of it. Naturally, no one would dare to offend the Pill King. Well, save for Lao, perhaps. Although Xavier still wondered if Lao was just boasting as he was talking about how little he cared for the Pill King's achievements. Yes, the Pill King. However, I should not talk too badly about Baltu. Not only because I am terrified of his brother. You see, Baltu may be an annoying old bastard, but he is not a bad person. He is only very stubborn, and hates people who mention his brother in front of him. He knows that his brother is the only reason he is still alive. But as soon as he hears someone mentioning the Pill King, Baltu will fly into a fit of rage and chase that person off. Afterward, he won't talk with them again for at least a year, unless he wants something, of course. If you ever run into him, it would be best not to mention the Pill King, warned Grandmaster Anthony. I understand, and Baltu is in Obsidian City? Asked Xavier. Talon nodded. He is, but do you really want to visit him? It will be painful. I have no choice. I really need the Ice Spirit Fountain, even if he asks for my soul. I can't decline. Xavier forced a smile. Talon patted Xavier's shoulder with a sympathetic look on his face. I pity you. Most people avoid Baltu like the plague, and you have to walk up to his front door. But if it is so important to you, then it can't be helped. I will bring you to him. I suppose Anthony does not want to see him after the last time. No, but do remind him not to set foot into our society when it comes up. His attitude will scare off our members. Our alchemist society would be emptied within an hour, Anthony pointed out. Talon chuckled. With a smile, he turned to Xavier. Then let's not waste more time. I will lead you to Baltu. But don't blame me if he won't be persuaded into handing you the Ice Spirit Fountain. Xavier's heart skipped a beat. Of course, thank you. This was the best chance he had. He knew he could not risk blowing it. Otherwise, who knows how long he would have to continue his search. Perhaps it would take him years. Alchemists searching for years to find one specific ingredient was nothing unusual. Xavier followed him out of the building without saying another word. Neither of them was in the mood for chatting. Grandmaster Talon because he dreaded meeting Baltu, and Xavier because his mind was racing. He tried to remember all the items, plants, and ingredients he had found throughout his journey. What could someone like that be interested in? Silently, Xavier was hoping that perhaps Lao's voice would echo through his mind, providing an answer, but there was nothing. It was then that Xavier noticed that Lao was awfully silent today. This caused him to worry. Is he not around or just doesn't feel like talking? Suddenly, he could hear Lao speak up after all. It's the latter, you dumb brat. What are you thinking? You didn't think I would help you with your alchemy test, did you? Xavier sighed in relief. No, of course not. I just got worried, that's all. You don't have any idea what someone like Baltu would be interested in for his collection, do you? The old man's laughter echoed through Xavier's mind. Oh, so now you want me to do your homework. I am afraid I'm too old for homework. Anyway, let me know how it goes. No, wait. Silently, Xavier cursed the old man, but no reply came. Shaking his head, Xavier stopped worrying, and instead focused on his surroundings. After a few minutes, he and Talon entered a narrow alley. The buildings to the left and right of the alley were primarily shops. Some of them looked rather dodgy. There were questionable items displayed in the windows, many of which Xavier did not recognize. Xavier and Talon walked past a man smoking in front of one of those dodgy shops. He looked very intimidating. One of his eyes was missing. The other one pierced through Xavier and Talon. A deep scar went down his face. As Xavier saw his hand with the cigarette, he could see several fingers were also missing. Behind him, Xavier could see all sorts of weapons displayed in the window. Talon did not pay the man any mind. As Talon and Xavier passed him, the scary-looking man took a subtle bow. Xavier was confused for a moment. Using his soul performance, he tried to figure out what level the man was on. Level 3 She Master. Man, that's wild. Why is he bowing? It took Xavier a moment to remember that he was wearing the alchemist's robe. He must have noticed we're alchemists. I keep forgetting about that. It looks like even the people I should be worried about will stay respectful when they know I'm an alchemist. That's good to know, he thought. Talon walked out of the alley and took a sharp right turn. They crossed another few streets and alleys before he stopped in front of an old house. It could have been described as a mansion when compared with the houses next to it. "Here we are. This is Baltu's house. Remember, don't mention his brother. And be prepared to pay an unholy amount of ingredients for the Ice Spirit Fountain. I hope you know what you are getting yourself into," he warned Xavier. Grandmaster Talon beckoned Xavier towards him. The old man then knocked against the dark wooden door. As no reply came, he knocked again. "Maybe he's not at home," Xavier suggested, but Talon shook his head. "He is at home most of the time." Without waiting any longer, he pushed open the heavy door. Before they could enter, a black powder came forth from the house, scattering in every direction. Xavier jumped back. Talon was unbothered. The old man waved his hand, and the black powder was forced back into the house. It landed on the ground, leaving the entry room a total mess. Though Xavier peeked inside and noticed that even without the powder, the entry room would have been a total mess. "Don't touch anything. Stick close to me, and remember, don't mention his brother. You don't want to make this more difficult than it already is," reminded Grandmaster Talon. Xavier nodded. As instructed, he stayed close behind Grandmaster Talon as they entered. As soon as Xavier set foot inside the messy house, the door flew back into its angles, making Xavier jump. His wide-open eyes swept across the room. It looked like a garbage dump. There were several dressers, shelves, and desks. Diverse items and ingredients were piled up on them. When there was no space left anymore, the items were piled atop other items and displays. This did not stop the owner of the house from piling things up on the floor as well. Countless ancient books, embroidered with gold and diamonds, were scattered carelessly on the floor, covered with either thick dust or the remains of the black powder. "What is that powder for?" Xavier was scared to ask, but his curiosity got the better of him. Grandmaster Talon shrugged his shoulder. "The old man likes to keep people out, as you can imagine. I don't think it is poison, though. The last time I was here, the room was covered in a sort of itching powder that gives you a rash. Baltu is not malicious enough to kill someone." "All right, fair enough," replied Xavier. Talon's reassurance that the powder was not poison did put Xavier's heart a bit at ease. He still tiptoed around it whenever he could. Talon led the way to an old rotting staircase. As he set his foot on the first step, a creaking sound echoed through the old building. "Be careful. Watch where I place my steps, and step on the same spots," warned Talon. Xavier nodded. He kept a close eye on Talon's feet. Every now and then, he skipped a step, and Xavier did the same. The steps creaked and ached, as if in severe pain. Xavier was worried that they might collapse at any second. "Another trap, I imagine?" he murmured. "Exactly. If you step on the wrong step, the staircase will turn into a slide, and you will slide right into a pile of black powder. Some other stairs are covered in a sort of corrosive liquid. You don't want to step on them either. Anthony slipped down the staircase and fell into the powder before." Talon laughed as he remembered it. "Don't tell Anthony I told you about this. He is rather embarrassed about it." Xavier laughed a little. "I won't tell him, don't worry. But how do you know what steps you can step on?" "Look at them closely, and maybe you'll figure it out," replied Talon. Xavier did exactly that as they made their way to the third floor. It was on the second floor that he saw a pattern on the wooden tiles that formed the stairs. Every now and then, one of the wooden tiles was slightly lighter or darker in color. "You are not supposed to step on the wooden tiles that are light or dark brown. Is that it?" he asked. Talon smiled. "Exactly. Don't step on any tiles that are light or dark in color. As long as you keep this in mind, you should be fine. But we're here anyway. Hopefully, you won't have to remember this in the future. You better stay clear of this place. This old bastard keeps messing around instead of refining proper medicine." Xavier silently laughed to himself. He did not understand why Talon was so upset about this. There was nothing wrong with having fun after all. After another minute, they found themselves in a long corridor. At the end of it was a wooden door. "Is that it?" asked Xavier. Talon nodded and led the way to the door. Suddenly, the voice of an old man could be heard from within the room. "What was that you said about not refining proper medicine? Don't think that just because you are the vice chairman of the Alchemist Society, you can talk about people like that." "Oh, you old bastard." Talon cursed him. With a violent kick, he hit the door. Talon yelled out in pain. "For fuck's sake, what was that?" Loud laughter came from within the room. "After the last time you kicked my door in, I replaced the wooden one with one that is made of metal that looks like wood. Quite convenient, isn't it?" "Old fucking bastard." Talon inhaled deeply. His expression turned into one full of anger. A fierce Q energy began to rise from his body and wrapped around him. After a second, he looked like he was made of fire. Xavier's eyes widened in shock and surprise. Judging by what he saw, Grandmaster Talon had to be on the level of battle spirit. "I had no idea Grandmaster Talon was so powerful. That is insane," he thought. With another kick, the door flew out of its hinges and was thrown into the room. From inside the room came violent cursing. Talon ignored all the cursing and walked inside the room. "Do come in, Xavier," he added. "Oh, you brought someone with you. What for?" said the old man. Xavier walked inside the room. His gaze swept across the strange items that were scattered across it. He could not identify many of them. The ones he could identify were precious and rare. The ingredients that were the rarest and most expensive were on display, protected by a thick layer of unbreakable glass. Several heavy locks kept it shut. Fireheart, seven-leaf flower, blood crystal grass, blue heart rock. Xavier could not stop swooning. The room was akin to a dragon horde. Sitting on a chair in front of a desk was the dragon hoarding it, Baltu. Xavier was surprised to see what he looked like. Baltu was a skinny older man, dressed in bland clothes. Gray streaks were in his dark hair. Nothing about him would have made anyone assume that he was the brother of the famous legendary Pill King. Xavier looked at him and raised his eyebrows. "Hey, you brat, why are you looking at me like that? Are you scheming something to steal my treasures?" Baltu jumped up from his chair and took a few steps toward Xavier. No, I'm sorry. It's just that I've never seen so many rare ingredients in one place. This truly must be the most amazing collection of ingredients within the Empire." Xavier turned red and took an apologetic bow. Baltu calmed down. He seemed appeased. "At least you know how to talk. However, you are right, of course. Anyway, I am rather busy. Tell me why the two of you decided to visit. I imagine Grandmaster Talon did not come all the way here to have a chat, did he?" Talon shook his head. "This young man's name is Xavier. He was looking for you. You might be able to help him with something." Baltu looked at Xavier. Suddenly, he saw the storage ring on his finger. A mischievous spark lit up in Baltu's eyes. "Oh, is he looking for something? If he is looking for someone to buy treasure, then he is at the right place. As long as you can give me something interesting, I will pay you a price you will be happy with, kid." Xavier swallowed. "No, I am not looking to sell my treasure. I am here to inquire about something called Ice Spirit Fountain. I've heard that you are in possession of one." Baltu froze. "What was that? Ice Spirit Fountain?" He hastily shook his head and crossed his arms in front of him. "I have no idea what that is. Never heard of it. What a silly name. Probably some common thing you can find in the trash. Why would you think I have something like that?" Grandmaster Talon began to cuss him out. "Oh, you lying old bastard. You told me you had one the last time we met. You mentioned that you found someone who exchanged it for some other ingredient. I remember it clearly. There is no way I would forget that disgusting, stupid grin you had as you bragged about it." "You have some nerves to talk to me like that in my house. Get lost." Baltu went to Grandmaster Talon and pushed him out of his room. Talon rolled his eyes. Before he made his way out, he turned to Xavier and said, "I brought you to him. The rest is up to you. I'll be waiting outside. Good luck." Talon waved his hand, and the door that was lying on the ground arose and flew back into its hinges, closing the door behind him. Xavier and Baltu were left in the room. For a moment, there was an awkward silence between them. Xavier, unsure what he was supposed to do, sat on the chair across Baltu's desk. As Baltu saw this, he laughed. You better forget about it. I won't hand the Ice Spirit Fountain to you. Grandmaster Baltu, with all due respect, I believe everything has a price, even though this price might not be something that you can weigh out in gold, Xavier replied. Baltu smirked. He did not think there was anything of interest this kid could pull out of his storage ring. However, he was intrigued. Shaking his head, he took a seat on the other chair at the desk. All right, very well. Amuse me, kid. Show me what you possess that I could have any interest in. Since I would like to save some time here, I'm going to tell you right now that I have no interest in Q methods or D techniques. What interests me the most are rare ingredients. Xavier understood. He had thought about this for a while on the way here. It did make sense that he would be more interested in rare ingredients than anything. Baltu was an alchemist after all. Xavier flicked his fingers. A small crystal bottle appeared in his hand. He slowly opened it. A purple vapor came out of the bottle. The temperature of the room increased, as if something had turned on a large stove. Through his room, he could not move his eyes away from the crystal bottle. Greedily, he stared at it. Xavier was worried that Baltu might snatch the bottle out of his hand and not give it back. Despite this, he handed it to him. He eagerly took it and placed it under his nose. Taking a deep breath, he smelled the purple vapor coming from the bottle. Instantly, he could feel the Q energy in his body feel more awake and powerful. He had a fire attribute after all. For those with fire attributes, the effects of this item were the best. Someone with a water attribute would not feel anything when smelling it. Baltu licked over his lips. Surprise was on his face as he shook his head. An excellent item. I had no idea a kid like you would be in possession of something so rare. For a moment, he thought to himself. Eventually, Baltu sighed and stood up, placing the crystal bottle on his table. A moment later, he came back with a needle and a crystal dish. He placed the needle in the bottle and sucked it inside. The needle filled itself with purple liquid. Carefully, Baltu dropped one drop of the liquid onto the glass dish. As soon as the drop came into contact with the glass dish, a purple flame began dancing on top of the liquid. Baltu stared at it for a moment. After a while, he bent down and grabbed a thick leather-bound book. He heaved it onto the desk and opened it. Quickly, he skimmed through the pages. Every now and then, he glanced at the liquid on the glass. Xavier wondered if Baltu was able to recognize it. Back in the mountain range, he had obtained 6 small bottles of the birth essence. During his training, he used up half a bottle. Thus, he had 5.5 left. Although his heart was aching at the thought of parting with one, if it would help him to obtain an Ice Spirit Fountain, he was more than willing to do so. When it came to price and rareness, they should be about equal. Both the birth essence and the Ice Spirit Fountain were rare and highly sought after. Ha! The sudden yell made Xavier jump in his chair. Baltu had found what he was looking for. His finger tipped against the page in the book. Here it is, Winged Amethyst Lion Birth Essence. Born alongside a Winged Amethyst Lion, this item is exceedingly rare, as not every Winged Amethyst Lion will be born with a birth essence. About 1 birth essence appears in 100 years. For those with a fire attribute, this birth essence is a priceless treasure that can help speed up the training process. Baltu shook his head. I had no idea a kid like you would be in possession of something rare like this. Where did you get it from? He asked. Oh, sheer dumb luck. Xavier laughed a bit and shrugged it off. He did not want to tell the whole story about how he was fighting a Winged Amethyst Lion again, though he was not even the one fighting it. So, what do you say? Would you be willing to trade the Ice Spirit Fountain for the birth essence? He asked. Baltu hummed for a moment. His eyes wandered to the ceiling for a moment. With a sigh, he shifted his focus back to Xavier after a minute. All right, look, wait, what was your name again? Xavier, Xiao Xavier, Xavier replied. Baltu froze for a moment, as if he remembered something, but then shook his head. Look, kid, you seem pretty smart. I am sure you know how rare the Ice Spirit Fountain is, don't you? Of course, I know how rare the Ice Spirit Fountain is. Why would I offer an expensive rare ingredient like the birth essence in exchange if I didn't know about how rare it is? Replied Xavier. Baltu chuckled a bit.
All right, kid. I will put it this way. The birth essence you offer is indeed very rare. However, it is only useful to people with a fire attribute. This limits the demand for the item, which lowers its value. If it were an item that would be interesting to all sorts of people, things would look different.
Xavier reached for the bottle and closed it carefully. With a grin, he said, "Please don't think of me as an idiot. We both know what sort of powerful effect the birth essence has for those with fire attributes. Many alchemists risk their lives to obtain one, and seeing your collection, I am sure you know how valuable the birth essence really is. But if you really don't want to exchange it, then I guess I have to accept that. Unfortunately, the birth essence is the rarest item in my storage, so I couldn't offer anything else, even if I wanted to." Baltu opened his mouth. His muddy old eyes did not blink as they stared at Xavier's smiling face. Eventually, he shook his head and helplessly said,
I suppose it can't be helped then. Looks like you have to find your ice spirit fountain somewhere else. I'm sorry, kid.
Hearing this, Xavier's expression did not change. He waved his hand, smiling, and with a flip of his hand, placed the small bottle into the storage ring.
That is too bad, but you were right. It can't be helped. I am sorry for bothering you. Hopefully, we will meet again someday. I will have to leave the Empire tomorrow, and I don't know how long I will be gone. But if I pass by, I will make sure to say hi.
Xavier bid his farewell, stood up, and slowly turned around as he made his way to the door. He bit his lips. His heart was racing. He really needed the ice spirit fountain. If he had backed down, that cunning demon Baltu would have made sure Xavier paid a hefty price for it. Xavier cursed the old man as he almost reached the door. Every step he took made his heart skip a beat. Slowly, he reached out for the doorknob. Baltu did not say anything. Xavier clenched his teeth and opened the door, preparing to leave. Suddenly, Baltu spoke up, lifting the heavy weight of Xavier's heart.
All right, fine, you win, kid. Are you happy now? Not once in my entire life have I seen this birth essence. You can count yourself lucky. If this had been anything else, you would have left empty-handed today,
uttered Baltu. Xavier sighed. His back was drenched in a cold sweat. Luckily, the good craftsmanship of the alchemist's robe concealed this well. He brushed off the sweat on his forehead and turned around. Once again, he sat across Baltu on his desk. I appreciate it, added Xavier. He pulled the bottle out of his storage ring. Baltu's greedy fingers snatched the birth essence out of Xavier's hand. He opened it and took a deep sniff.
I only heard rumors about this birth essence. Never have I seen it with my own eyes. It really is an amazing thing, he exclaimed.
His body relaxed, and his eyes stared into the distance. Xavier cleared his throat, and Baltu snapped out of his trance-like state. He stared at Xavier in a confused manner.
What? The ice spirit fountain? We wanted to make an exchange, remember?
Xavier reminded him. Baltu sighed and rolled his eyes.
Yes, I remember. Wait here for a moment, and don't you dare touch anything. I will let you pay extra for that.
Xavier raised both hands in a defensive manner. Baltu stood up, turned around, and knocked on a wall a few times. He took a quick check at Xavier to see if he moved as he wasn't looking, and then turned back to the wall. A small hole opened up in it. Don't move, Baltu yelled back without turning around, even though Xavier sat frozen in the same position with his hands in the air. Baltu bent over and reached deep in the hole. A moment later, he grabbed something and closed the hole again. As he sat down again, he placed a small white box on the table. It was sealed completely, save for a very small hole to open it on the top. Iciness seeped from the box. Xavier could feel the temperature in the room drop. With hesitating fingers, Baltu unlocked the box. As the cover was removed, cold smoke came from it and covered the entire desk before spreading over the floor as well. Inside the box was a small bottle. A thick layer of ice surrounded it. Baltu sighed. He pushed the box towards Xavier.
Take it. Here is the ice spirit fountain that you wanted.
Xavier reached with trembling hands to the bottle in the box. Excitement was in his wide eyes. Seeing this, a smug smile spread on Baltu's face. As soon as Xavier touched the small bottle, his heart stopped for a second. Icy pain shot through his body. The coldness pierced through his flesh. Xavier immediately pulled back his fingers. As he looked at his hand, A thin layer of ice covered the palm of his hand. It gradually began to crawl up his arm. Xavier did not hesitate. He released some of his Q energy, and a purple flame rose from his hand, melting away the layer of ice. Droplets of water dropped off from his robe. Ball 2 watched in amazement.
A heavenly flame? No, it can't be. A heavenly flame would be more powerful than that, he thought.
Xavier picked up the bottle with the sleeve of his robe. This time, the iciness did not pierce through his body. With the other hand, he unscrewed the top of the bottle. Inside was a creamy white liquid. Xavier took a deep sniff. It caused his whole body to shiver. He studied the liquid for a while. Suddenly, Lau's voice echoed through Xavier's mind. Don't worry, he is not trying to fool you. This is the ice spirit fountain that we need. Once Xavier got this confirmation, he screwed the top on the bottle again and placed it inside the white box. Having obtained it, he placed it inside his storage ring and took a deep, respectful bow to Ball 2. Thank you for your help. If I ever need to exchange something again, I will come back to visit you. Ball 2 snorted.
Don't bother, unless you will be able to be more generous the next time.
Xavier laughed, not paying the insults much attention.
Of course, I don't want to disturb you after all. On a different note, you don't happen to have a level 3 monster heart here. Level 3 monster heart?
Disdain was in Ball 2's voice.
What do you think this is? Some pawn shop? No, I don't have anything of such a low grade. It would be a waste of space. But I do have a level 5 monster heart in my collection if you'd be interested. Another bottle of this birth essence, and it will be yours.
Xavier laughed as if Ball 2 had told him a funny joke.
Never mind then. I don't have any more of the birth essence. I was just curious. Maybe I'll visit the auction house before leaving the Empire.
He had no use for a level 5 monster heart. Not to mention, a level 5 monster heart was clearly not worth an entire bottle of the birth essence. Xavier was not desperate enough to give it away so freely. He said goodbye and walked out of the old mansion. Once outside, Ball 2 cursed loudly.
That damned brat. I don't believe a word about what he said. Only one bottle. Lying bastard. What did he say his name was? Xavier Xiao. Xavier. Yes, that was it. I could have sworn I had heard this name before.
He scratched his head. He was sure he had heard the name before, though he could not remember where and when. Grandmaster Talon was waiting outside the house as he said he would. And? Did you get it? He asked as soon as he saw Xavier walking outside.
Yes, I got it.
A wide grin was on Xavier's face. He took a bow.
Thank you for your help. Without you, I would probably have to search for another decade.
Oh, don't worry about it. These ingredients only serve as decoration in Ball 2's house. With his abilities, he would be unable to do much else with them. By giving one of his ingredients a chance of becoming useful, I feel like I have done a good deed. Talon smiled. Silently, he wondered what Xavier offered in exchange. He knew Ball 2, and he knew that Ball 2 was not willing to part with any of his ingredients willingly. Although his curiosity was gnawing at him, Talon did not dare to ask. He was in this business for a while. Asking what was exchanged was rude. In the end, it was none of his business. Otherwise, Xavier would have told him by now.
That's a good point. Now all I need is a level 3 monster heart.
Xavier thought out loud. Talon tilted his head. A level 3 monster heart, Talon repeated.
Yeah, I was thinking about visiting the auction house here before making my way to the Empire's eastern border.
Xavier replied. You were heading to the border of the Empire? Then why don't you accompany me to the Alchemist Society? I will send someone to obtain a level 3 monster heart for you. It will save you some time, Talon suggested. Xavier looked at Talon with wide eyes.
Are you sure? I don't want to trouble you. You've helped me a lot already.
Talon waved him off. Nonsense. You are part of our Alchemist Society now. That makes you one of us. Besides, that is hardly any trouble at all. Xavier could tell that Talon wanted to make a good impression by buttering him up. Still, Xavier agreed without much hesitation. The Alchemist Society was undoubtedly very powerful. It would be beneficial to play along. Additionally, a good relationship with the Alchemist Society would be helpful whenever he needed rare ingredients in the future. Their exchange system was very convenient, and he did not expect that anyone in the Alchemist Society would become bothersome. Most alchemists were busy with their own work. and would not bother other alchemists. Soon after the two of them arrived back at the Obsidian City Alchemist Society, Grandmaster Talon gave the order to purchase a level 3 monster heart and brought Xavier to the living quarter where he could wait. Talon placed a cup of tea on the table in front of Xavier. Xavier, how long do you intend to travel outside the Empire? He asked. Xavier shrugged. Maybe for 6 months. I am a bit undecided yet. 6 months, huh? Talon sat across Xavier and tapped with his fingers on the table. After these 6 months, will you go to the capital of the Empire? Capital? He pressed his lips together and nodded. The capital was near the headquarters of the faction of the Misty Clouds. He was bound across the capital anyway. But why do you ask? Xavier questioned. Talon hummed. I am asking because in 6 months the Alchemist Assembly is happening in the capital. If you have spare time, you might want to participate. For someone with so much potential, it would be very beneficial. Alchemist Assembly? Xavier was confused, but his interest was sparked. During the Alchemist Assembly, alchemists from all over the different empires will be meeting up. We will exchange knowledge, sell recipes and rare ingredients, and get to know each other. It is a huge event for alchemists from all backgrounds. It would be a shame to miss it if you were starting out as an alchemist, explained Talon. Xavier smiled. This did sound like something he would enjoy. If I have some time, I will make sure to take a look. Good, good. I promise you won't regret it. Talon laughed. He then went on to explain a few things in detail. He talked about the history of the event and mentioned a few things that Xavier should keep an eye out for at the Alchemist Assembly. Xavier made sure to take some notes. While the two were chatting, one of the subordinates walked into the room. On a silver platter, he had the level 3 monster heart. Xavier's eyes widened as he saw the heart. It was perfect. Xavier estimated it to cost around 200,000 gold coins. As he asked Talon how much he owed them, the old man waved it off. With the wealth of the Alchemist Society, this amount of money was only a drop of water in the ocean. No amount of arguing caused the old man to change his mind. Xavier had to begrudgingly take the heart without paying for it. He silently hoped this would not come to bite him later. He did not want to owe anyone favors. Then again, the old man was on the level of a battle spirit and a powerful alchemist. Xavier did not think there were any favors he could provide that would interest him. The two of them continued to chat for a while before Xavier said goodbye. It was nice to talk with an alchemist that was not Lao for a change. Not that Xavier minded talking with Lao, but he felt like broadening his horizon by talking to other alchemists was good for him. Now with the monster heart and the ice spirit fountain in his possession, Xavier was ready to depart from Obsidian City. Grandmaster Talon watched him walk away from the Alchemist Society. Shao Xavier, I am looking forward to seeing your talent on display during the Alchemist Assembly, he voiced. Xavier did not head back to the inn. He had already paid for everything and had all his belongings with him. He headed straight to the airport. As he arrived, he was at a loss for words. Xavier walked up to the first man he saw. Excuse me, is this the airport? The grumpy-looking old man nodded. Xavier looked around. This did not answer any of his questions. And, I'm sorry, this is my first time here, but, these giant winged birds, are those the airplanes? He pointed at the large number of giant birds that were standing on the wide-open plaza. The what? The old man did not seem up for much conversation. What are those birds? Am I supposed to fly on their backs? Xavier remembered his flight on the giant blue eagle. How else are you gonna fly, kid? Can't grow wings yourself, can you? The old man laughed with a raspy voice. Xavier did not bother to correct him. These birds are called silverwings. They are not monsters, just huge birds. They're easy to train and very gentle. There's only a small number of them left, though. Very enduring and strong. Can carry a load 6 times its weight for a long time. The military used them during the Great War. Many of those had seen the war. Poor things, really. It's a shame. They're lovely creatures. If you need a ride, you can get your tickets over there. The man pointed to a ticket counter. As Xavier saw the long queue behind it, his heart dropped. Oh, I see. Thank you. Xavier took a bow and went to the ticket counter. He sighed. This was going to take a while. Meanwhile, he looked around. Next to each bird stood a set of wooden stairs. On those wooden stairs was a man checking the tickets. The noises in the background made Xavier's head spin. People were chatting and yelling, and the birds were noisy too. Suddenly, he was envious of the doctor with her giant eagle.
Damn it, I will look for a flying pet too once I can afford it. Blowing a whistle to call a giant eagle to take you wherever you want sounds like a dream.
Sir, where are you headed?
The clear voice made Xavier snap back to reality. As he looked up, he saw that the queue in front of him was gone. Behind the counter was a lovely lady wearing a uniform.
Oh, sorry. I would like to head to whatever city is closest to the Tag Desert.
Hearing this, the lady muttered something to herself. She then pulled out a ticket that was made of some leather. However, as she went to hand the ticket to Xavier, she froze.
Sir, are you an alchemist?
Yes, is this a problem? He asked.
The lady was startled.
Oh, goodness, no, of course not. It's just that according to our company's regulations, under the law of the Empire, alchemists are allowed to enjoy our services for free. Please follow me. We have one bird specially prepared for alchemists.
She came forth from behind the counter, and under many envious glances from the queue that had formed behind him, Xavier was led to a giant winged bird. Much to Xavier's surprise, this bird was not a silverwing like the others, but some sort of magical beast. He could sense that it had a wind attribute. On its back was a small house-like structure built of wood. As Xavier was led inside the building, he was astonished to see that it was a lot larger on the inside than he expected. It was divided into a few small rooms. 2 of the rooms were occupied by other alchemists.
This is the ride that will head to Desert City. It is directly at the Tag Desert, the lady informed.
All right, thank you. He took a bow and entered one of the empty rooms. He never imagined that revealing his identity as an alchemist would bring so many benefits. Of course, he knew that alchemists were respected and envied, but this really exceeded all of his expectations. As he waited for the beast to lift into the sky, he wondered what sort of other benefits this life as an alchemist would bring him. The ice spirit grass and the level 3 monster heart. He gently placed them on the small table in front of him, before tapping against his ancient black ring a few times. What's going on? What do you want? Lau manifested himself in the cabin and yawned.
Oh, did I wake you? Sorry.
Xavier just realized he had no idea what Lau was even doing all the time in his ring. Did he need to sleep? He shook his head, deciding not to ask too many questions.
I was hoping you could help me to refine the Blood Lotus Essence pill.
Blood Lotus pill? Right now? Lau sighed. Xavier gestured at all the prepared ingredients on the table.
Yes, I figured we could prepare it earlier. I want to be prepared for when I find a heavenly flame. You did say I could find one at any point. If I'm not prepared, I would be unable to obtain it, replied Xavier.
Lau smiled and shook his head. All right, fine. But keep in mind that it is a level 5 pill. It will take about 2 days to refine it, and it won't be as easy as refining any low-level healing pill.
Level 5?
Xavier was surprised to hear this.
I had no idea. Why didn't you mention this? Are you sure I will be able to refine it? I imagine even an expert alchemist would struggle to refine it. The only one I can think of that would be able to refine a level 5 pill would be the Pill King Lucian.
And, well, you, he added. Lau burst into laughter. Yes, me, of course. You don't think I would let you burn all the ingredients, do you? I will refine it. Didn't I mention this before? All you have to do is observe it carefully and learn. Xavier relaxed as he heard that Lau would refine the pill for him.
Oh, thank you. I just thought that since now I am officially an alchemist, and you said you would only help me in a life or death situation, you would ask me to refine the pill.
Lau shook his head. After all the trouble you went through to gather the ingredients, it would be a shame to burn them into ash. Just stay focused and watch what I am doing. Lau extended his hand. A white flame appeared in his open palm. He stared at it for a while. After it reached a certain height, he blew into the flame. It calmed down instantly. The first thing he did was place the level 3 monster's heart into the flame. He did not exaggerate the difficulty of refining the flame. Even with the heavenly flame, it took him 2.5 days. Xavier wondered how long it would have taken an alchemist without a heavenly flame. A week? Perhaps a month? He could only speculate. Xavier was so invested in the refining process that he missed the first two steps where the monster landed to take a break, and the passengers were able to walk outside to get some fresh air. Meticulously, he watched every move Lau made. Observing the entire process did teach Xavier a lot. At the same time, he also realized that his ability to control the purple flame and all the other alchemy-related abilities he took such pride in were hardly worth mentioning in front of a Grand Master. Although only 3 ingredients were involved, the complex process caught Xavier by surprise. Lau was right. If Xavier had tried to do any of this, he would have burnt the level 3 monster heart in the first step, before having time to add any of the other ingredients. By the end of the 2 days, a red pill, roughly the size of a hazelnut, was rolling around in Lau's palm. Xavier licked his lips. He could tell by the clear sheen on the surface of the pill, and its form, that it was done. He felt that the air had suddenly become a lot warmer. Lau looked as if the 2 days of refining the medicine did not drain him of any energy at all. He looked as relaxed and calm as always. Xavier, on the other hand, was exhausted. He stretched himself and took a glance out of the window.
I think we are arriving.
You should get a bottle ready. It is almost done, Lau ordered. Xavier hurriedly nodded and pulled out a small bottle from his storage ring. It was not an ordinary one that he would use for lower-level pills, but a high-grade one. The crystal it was made of was some sort of red jade. It was a lot sturdier. Xavier took the pill and carefully placed it inside the bottle. Lau glanced at the bottle on the table. Suddenly, a large white flame arose and surrounded the pill inside. A moment later, the flame shot out from the bottle, and a wave of energy burst through the air, making the small cabin tremble. The flying monster was startled. Its body trembled, and it dropped a few feet. It had to take a few strong flaps to recover itself. Xavier's heart skipped a beat. At the same time, the pill in the bottle released a strong scent and a faint red smog. It shrouded the small cabin. Helplessly, Xavier looked at Lau.
What was this?
This is something that happens when refining a pill that is above level 4. You should guard the door. Give me a few minutes to complete the process and take care of it. Be careful. Other alchemists are traveling with us. You don't want to get their attention. A pill that is above level 4 is very precious. Many would risk their lives to get their hands on one, explained Lau. Xavier understood. He reached for the broadsword ruler and unsheathed it. Slowly, he went to the door, bracing himself for the worst as he opened it. Not long after he stood at the door, 4 people rushed out of their rooms. They looked to the left and right as they saw Xavier and the level 2 alchemist badge on his chest. Their expressions changed. 3 of the 4 men must have been in their 30s. One man was older, presumably in his 50s. On the older man's chest was a level 3 alchemist badge. 2 other men were level 2 alchemists, and the last one was a level 1 alchemist. The oldest man stepped forward. His eyes were filled with greed as they narrowed, looking at the red fog that came out of Xavier's room. With a fake smile, he looked at Xavier and laughed. Hello, young friend. My name is Lang Han. I could not help but feel a wave of energy. Did that come from your room? I only wanted to ask since I got worried. We are thousands of feet above the ground. If anything happened here, we could get killed. I am sure you understand. Xavier tightened the grip around his broadsword ruler. There was no expression on his face. He stared at the old man, unblinking. One of the level 2 alchemists joined in.
He is right. We are all on the same boat, or rather bird. If you are doing anything dangerous up here, it will get us all into trouble. You should be careful.
He forced a smile and walked over to Xavier and the old man. Seeing this, the other 2 alchemists also moved to Xavier's room. One of them even suggested entering the cabin to make sure everything is all right. Xavier blocked the way to his room.
My master is refining a pill. I'll guarantee you, he knows what he is doing, and would not get us into unnecessary danger. You all can return to your rooms and mind your own business, if you know what's good for you.
He tightened his grip on the broadsword ruler some more, moving it slightly to make sure the other men understood. The old man Lang Han laughed. You really are a jokester. We don't have any bad intentions. We are all alchemists, aren't we? We are basically colleagues. And since you and your master have taken this bird to fly instead of flying on wings, neither of you is on the level of a battle spirit. If anything happened up here, that would be a death sentence for all of us. Since the old man knew that someone in the cabin was refining a pill, it would be easy for him to interrupt. Interrupting a refining process was something of a taboo within the alchemist circle. It could cause the process to backfire, leaving the alchemist who was refining the pill badly injured. In worse cases, it could even kill the alchemist. "Come on, move aside and don't act like that." The level 2 alchemist spoke up. "We only want to see what's going on. We won't cause any trouble." He gathered some Q energy in his palm and pushed Xavier. "Get lost." Xavier tightened his fist, and a purple flame arose. He punched the level 2 alchemist before he could make another move. Before the others could react, Xavier stepped back and tightly pressed himself against the door to block it off. He was only a true master, while one of the other men had reached level 3 of being a true master. Although Xavier was able to throw one effective punch, it would be hard to keep the upper hand if a fight were to happen. The level 2 alchemist screamed out in pain. As he looked at his arm, he could see that it was covered with burns. The other alchemists were shocked to see this. "How did that brat do this? Was that a heavenly flame? No, it couldn't be." Seeing the purple flame startled the old man. "That brat is dangerous. We should take care of him before he could cause us more trouble. Let's attack him before the pill is refined." One of the middle-aged men stepped forwards and aimed a kick at Xavier. Surrounding his foot, a dark yellow Q energy formed. "Damn it," cursed Xavier. Swiftly, he threw the broadsword ruler into his storage ring. He jumped forwards at the man that was about to kick him. Octane blast! Xavier's fist hit the foot. The force was enough to send him backwards. The man was smashed into one of the rooms. Pieces of wood flew into the air. Behind him, the blue sky and a few clouds were revealed. The man's face turned ashen gray. Xavier walked towards him. He was about to throw another punch at the man to force him off the bird, as the cold laughter of the old man interrupted him. Xavier turned around. The old man was standing in front of his door. "Dumb brat, once I kill your master, I will get back to you." He stepped into Xavier's room. The old man grinned widely. Just as he stepped into the room, the somewhat translucent arm of another old man stretched out. With lightning speed, it grabbed the intruder's neck. "You want to kill me?" Hearing Lao speak to someone else made Xavier's heart race. He hoped that the pill was already done. The expression on the old man Lang Han turned into one of sheer terror. He could immediately tell that Lao was a far higher-ranking alchemist than any of the ones present. Suddenly, he also noticed that with the hand grabbing his throat, he could not use the Q energy in his body. This powerful alchemist must have blocked his pathways off. He must have been, at the very least, a level 5 alchemist. Cold sweat ran down Lang Han's wrinkled forehead. Sir, I am so sorry. I did not wish to bother you. We were just worried, that is all. We only wanted to check if everything was in order. We are so high above the ground, and none of us is on a level where we could grow wings with our Q energy." He swallowed hard. Silently, he wondered why this powerful alchemist relied on this sort of transport. It was obvious that he should have been able to create Q energy wings on such a level. Lao did not look bothered. With his right hand, he waved a red bottle under the nose of the intruder. "You want this, right?" The other 3 alchemists were watching with fear in their eyes. They took a few steps back, leaving the old Lang Han to his fate. They cursed themselves in silence. Embarrassment spread over their faces. It was so obvious. Of course, someone that was able to refine a pill above level 4 would be more powerful than any of them. The greed that took over their minds erased their common sense. But that greed left as soon as they saw the situation the old Lang Han was caught in. Being faced with this powerful alchemist, they began to understand how foolish they had been. Sir, you must be joking. We would not dare to rob you. I am sure you noticed the wave of energy a few minutes ago. It could have killed us all. I am sure you understand." His mouth felt dry. Lang Han wanted to force a laugh, but only the sound of choking escaped his throat. He subtly moved his hand, and a small bag filled with poisonous black powder dropped from his sleeve into his palm. Just as he was about to scatter the poison, Lao sighed and shook his head. "Originally, I did not want to kill you, but you left me no choice." A thick white flame appeared on the hand that was wrapped around Lang Han's throat. As soon as it touched his skin, terrible pain caused him to scream. Agony filled his body. He was unable to do anything. Within a second, the white flame swallowed his body. Only a moment later, a pile of ash was left where the old man Lang Han stood. All the other alchemists present blinked in disbelief, Xavier included. He had seen the strength of the heavenly flame before, back in Wutan City, but back then, the person that was killed was on a much lower level. Xavier did not expect that the heavenly flame would kill a high-leveled Shi-master so quickly as well. There was hardly any resistance against the heavenly flame. Xavier's desire to obtain such power for himself grew. Lao waved the ash off his clothes. He waved his hand, and the wind came forth to clean up the ash on the floor. Once this was done, Lao threw the red bottle with the pill toward Xavier. Xavier put the bottle into the storage ring. "Master, what are we going to do about them?" He nodded toward the other alchemists, who appeared to be frozen in shock. Lao's expression did not change. "Since they are interested in murdering and robbing people, it would only be a matter of time until they will have to pay the price for it. I am sure they understand what I am about to do." He waved his hand, and the white flame appeared once more as he turned to the three men left. "Do any of you prefer to jump?" They glanced at the broken spot in the back. Blue sky and clouds were flying by. They must have been thousands of feet above the ground. Hopelessness and terror spread amongst the men. Meanwhile, the flame on Lao's palm split itself into three. One of the men refused to give up without a fight. His Q energy arose and wrapped around his body as he charged at Xavier. He knew there was no point attacking the powerful old alchemist. Killing his disciple would have to do. Another of the alchemists took out a longsword. He screamed a battle cry as he also charged at Xavier. His plan was to get to Xavier first and keep him hostage to get out of the situation alive. Xavier did not move. He knew that he could trust Lao to get him out of this situation. Lao watched quietly for a moment before snapping his finger. Like lightning, the first white flame shot forth. It hit the level 1 alchemist, incinerating him into a pile of ashes. Lao was about to snap his fingers again when he saw something that made him chuckle. With a sigh, he shook his head. The level 2 alchemist that rushed towards Xavier froze. He spat out a mouth of blood. As he lowered his head, he saw a cold sword piercing through his body, coming from behind. "You..." With great effort, he turned his head. Behind him was his companion, the level 2 alchemist. "You don't think you can escape death by betraying me? You will die." The level 2 alchemist did not let these words get to him. All he did was push the sword deeper into his friend's body. With a determined expression, he looked at Lao. "Sir, I am willing to follow you. I will do whatever you ask me to do as long as you won't kill me." Xavier raised his eyebrows after hearing these words from the alchemist that just betrayed his friend to save his own life. He took a look at Lao. Lao did not bother to hide his amusement. He shook his head and laughed. "Such a human thing to do. When faced with a situation where there is no hope left, you cannot show your back to those you trust. How shameful. Do what you want with him. I don't need that kind of follower." Lao walked back inside the room. Xavier understood. He nodded. A moment later, Lao heard a muffled scream outside. He flicked his fingers, and the white flame disappeared. Xavier entered the room. The scent of blood was on his body. As Lao gave him a questioning look, Xavier shrugged his shoulders. "You were right. Those sorts of people following you will only cause you trouble. I kicked him off the bird," Xavier uttered. Lao nodded without much care. His head turned towards the window as he observed the landscape beneath them. "It appears we are about to arrive. Look at all the golden sand. I can't remember the last time I've been here. It must have been decades, if not centuries." He thought in silence for a moment before he added, "We should leave now. If we wait for the landing, we might get some annoying questions about the 4 missing alchemists. I am not in the mood to waste more of our time answering questions. Are you?" Xavier agreed. A moment later, Lao disappeared into the ancient ring on Xavier's finger. He stretched himself and let his Q energy come forth. A moment later, wings grew on his back. He opened the window of his cabin and jumped out of it. The wind rushed past his ears. He flapped his wings. Purple Q energy wrapped around his body. He raised his head, watching the giant bird flying away into the distance. With a few powerful flaps of the eagle wings, he took a turn and flew towards the buildings he saw in the distance.
That must be it. Tag Desert. I'm finally here.
Just in time, he thought. Xavier could feel his Q energy decreasing. His body trembled. The wings on his back began to shrink. Xavier flew closer to the ground. As he was about 5 feet above the desert, the wings disappeared, transforming back into a tattoo on his back. Xavier flipped his body in midair. Before landing on the ground, he stood up, brushed some dust off his clothes, and stretched his shoulders. A few hundred feet in the distance, he could see the yellow buildings of the city. It was located directly next to Tag Desert, so the air was hot and dry. Blazing sunlight hit Xavier's head. The air looked distorted due to the heat. Xavier did not expect this to be a good environment to continue his training, but much to his surprise, he felt how his Q energy recovered a lot quicker. Using his soul performance, he tried to figure out why. After a few minutes, it dawned on him.
So the air here contains fire and earth attributes,
he muttered. Lau hummed in agreement in Xavier's mind. Exactly. This is the reason the Tag Desert is most suited for those practicing with a fire or earth-attributed Q method. Additionally, the purple flame inside your body is special and has a close relationship with the sun. You will be slightly more sensitive to this environment than someone without it.
Is this why you made me come here to train? Though the conditions will be very tough, I imagine you knew that.
Xavier had already begun to sweat. Luckily, his alchemist robe did feel like a breeze of fresh air, which kept at least his chest and legs protected from the blazing sun. Quickly, he made his way to the city. The closer he got, the more people he encountered. Most of the men did not wear any clothes to cover their bodies. The women were a little more modest, but not as much as the ones within the empire. Their light blouses only covered their chests. Beneath their waists, they wore either a short skirt or a long skirt made of free-flowing silk. Most people here had skin that was a lot darker. Xavier only saw about 5 people on his way that were as pale as he was. As he reached the city gate, he raised his head. Above the gate were 2 words engraved in sandstone. Desert City. More than 10 soldiers with armor and spears were guarding the gate. Seeing them, Xavier was shocked.
Why is the defense here higher than the one in Obsidian City? And why are they wearing a full set of armor in this heat? Man, they must be melting under all those layers,
he wondered. Perhaps it was due to the heat, but the guards were aggravated. Numerous times, Xavier saw them harass some pedestrians who walked through the gate. He was not surprised to see this. Often cities would ask people passing through for an entry tax. Xavier shook his head and wanted to step through the gate. Hey, brat, can't you read? Here it says. One of the guards stopped him. Before he could finish his sentence, his eyes stopped at the level 2 alchemist badge on his robe. The guard took a step back. My apologies, sir. Do you intend to enter the city? He asked politely.
Yeah, what does it look like?
Xavier raised an eyebrow and was about to walk through the gate when the guard took a bow and said, My apologies, sir. I only wanted to inform you that there have been some snake people in the Tag Desert causing trouble lately. If you intend to stay near the city, you should be careful. He took another bow as Xavier walked past him. Once he was out of sight, the guard took a deep breath. Damn it, if our captain learned that I offended a level 2 alchemist, he would have fed me to the wolves. He wiped away the cold sweat under his helmet as he took a step back to his post. After exiting the gate on the other side, Xavier stopped. He took a good look at his new surroundings. Many strange yellow buildings carved out of sandstone reached into the sky. The streets were made of white stone that stayed cool under the hot sun. Countless people walked along the main road. Some of them had donkeys or goats with them, helping them carry heavy loads of food and water.
Master, where are we headed? Should I go directly to the Tag Desert? I think it would be a good idea to get some water first.
Xavier only now felt how dry his throat was, and he hadn't even reached the desert yet. With a longing gaze, he stared at a carriage passing by that had a bunch of huge water-filled containers on it. Good call. You should also get a map of the desert The more detailed, the better. I'm sure they have a shop here that specializes in selling maps to tourists like us. And another thing, go to the next pharmacy and get some medicine to repel snakes. The snake people in the Tag Desert are very proficient in training poisonous snakes to attack strangers. The guard earlier had a good point as he told you to be careful. You don't want to make any snake people angry. I think it would be best to stay in the city tonight. You have also run out of energy recovery pills. I will refine a new batch tonight, and we can head for the desert tomorrow morning, Lau suggested. Xavier agreed and asked the next passerby for directions to a shop where he could get a map. As he got the directions, Xavier immediately went there. Luckily, it was not too far from the city gate. Not soon afterwards, he arrived at the shop. A sign was hanging next to the door. Ancient Map. Xavier took a look at the shop's windows. The name did not lie. It did look ancient. Slowly, he walked into the shop. It was rather small inside. Not many people were inside either. Behind the counter was an old man. White hair covered his head and chin. In his dry hand was a black pen, drawing on a map. Xavier inspected the maps on the counter. He lifted one up. On it were clear routes and destinations. Xavier was satisfied with it. Even for a novice adventurer like him, it was easy to make sense of the directions on the map. He took a glance at the old man sitting behind the counter. The man did not stop. Xavier pushed his lips together and walked to the corner of the shop, waiting until the old man was finished with his work. There in the corner was an ancient wooden shelf. It was covered with holes, and pieces of wood broke off. On the shelf were yellow maps of parchment paper. Judging from their appearance, they looked as if they were too damaged to be sold. Xavier picked up a pile of maps from the shelf without much care. One map was of the desert. The next one showed the way to Obsidian City. None were of much interest. With a bored expression, Xavier went through the pile one by one, as suddenly... Wait, is this really? Xavier stopped as a small fragment of a map was atop the pile. It was about the size of his palm. He blinked a few times. The lines and the shade of the ink were familiar. His heart began to race. I can't believe it. Lau was right. I really am too lucky. How can this be? Is this what people say when they talk about how some things are destined to be? He thought. He scanned the fragment of the map bit by bit. Part of him thought this was too good to be true, that there was no way that this was truly the second piece of the fragment he had found in the mountain range of monsters. But the closer he looked, the more he found his suspicion confirmed. It really was the second fragment of the map. He did his best not to scream with happiness. Instead, he took a deep breath and put the other maps back on the ancient shelf. His fingers trembled as they held on to the fragment. Xavier was terrified that the piece of paper would crumble into dust any second. The outlines were faintly familiar. Lau was as astonished as Xavier. Another piece of the map? Unbelievable. It looks like you are destined to find the pure demon lotus flame. I cannot help but feel jealous. Silently, Lau wondered how far Xavier would have come in his life as an alchemist. He knew that Xavier was special and had a lot of potential, but so much dumb luck was something not even Lau had foreseen. Xavier walked back to the counter and waited there until the old man had finished his work. Eventually, his old dark eyes pierced through Xavier. Are you here to buy a map for the desert? Just pick whatever you'd like, he blurted out. Xavier was stunned. He expected the old man to offer his advice, or at least tell him a bit about the shop, but he did not seem to be much for conversation. Instead, he went back to drawing another map. Sir? I wondered if you have any more pieces of this map. Xavier raised the fragment so that the old man could see it. Without stopping the hand that moved the pen over the paper, the old man looked briefly at the fragment Xavier showed him. A spark flashed through his eyes. They were calm, but Xavier could sense a sort of danger to them. From the left corner of his eye, a scar went across his cheek, all the way to his mouth. Have you seen something like that before? The old man asked. Xavier was cautious enough to not reveal this information. I think I have seen something like this at an auction house before. I wasn't really sure what to make of it, so I didn't buy it. I'm just surprised to run into another one. It looks so similar. Are there many of these pieces? The old man's interest vanished. Oh, I see. There isn't any other piece. I dug this one up in the desert.
Xavier bit his lips. I understand. How much do you want for it?
I'm not selling.
The old man's reply was curt. He lowered his head and continued to focus on drawing the map in front of him. Xavier was at a loss for words. He had to get this map. His mind was racing. For a moment, he considered stealing it, but his conscience was heavy in his heart. Perhaps he could offer something the old man liked, something like an energy recovery pill, or some other pill. While Xavier was still thinking about a way to obtain this map, Lau's voice echoed through his mind.
Be careful. He is not as weak as he seems to be. There is something off about him.
Xavier's heart skipped a beat. Something off about him? What are you talking about?
I have been observing him since you entered the shop. His true strength appears to be around the one of a high-level Q-master. However, he is using some strange technique to suppress his power. His body's strength appears to be around the one of a battle spirit. However, this strength is still enough to kill you, so don't upset him, informed Lau.
High-level Q-master? How? There are only 3 high-level Q-masters within our empire. Why would a person on such a level be here in this random shop, in the middle of a desert, drawing maps?
Asked Xavier. How am I supposed to know? Besides, the 3 high-level Q-masters you have mentioned are the only high-level Q-masters that don't live hidden. Many people with high ranks do not like to reveal themselves. Many of them could be considered eccentric. One of them staying near the desert, drawing maps, is not as weird as it might seem to you. Trust me, I have seen way worse, he replied.
Xavier was stunned. After a moment, he let out a deep breath. Why does it have to be with someone like him? Why couldn't a barkeeper find it and sell it to me for a few gold coins?
Maybe even your good luck runs out eventually. Lau mocked him and laughed. The old man behind the counter waved Xavier off. Look, kid, stop trying to get the map. I'm not selling it, and I have no interest in money. Take your things or buy something else and leave. And don't think you can steal it. You would get yourself hurt.
The old man did not seem to care that Xavier wore his level 2 alchemist robe. Not that Xavier was surprised by this, after the things Lau had told him. While alchemists were much respected, almost worshipped, a level 2 alchemist would not impress someone that was on the level of a high-level Q-master. Xavier shook his head. Of course, I understand. Stealing something from a high-level Q-master would be a bad idea. A large blotch of ink dripped onto the map that the old man had been drawing as he snapped his pen in half. He froze for a minute before raising his head to look at Xavier with cold, piercing eyes.
Who are you?
He asked. The old man tapped against his counter, and the large entrance door closed shut. An icy feeling overcame Xavier. Sir, please do not misunderstand. I do not know who you are. My soul performance is very sensitive, so I can sense things like this easily. Xavier threw his hands into the air in an apologetic manner and took 2 steps back. I had no bad intentions, I promise. But I really want that fragment, that is all. I feel very drawn to it for some reason. Is there anything I could offer as an exchange? The old man nodded, and for a second, Xavier thought he was impressed. However, only seconds later, Xavier was let down by the old man again.
Look, kid, I've already told you that I will not sell it to anyone, no matter how special they appear to be. If you really intend to steal it, then you will have to fight me.
An icy Q energy formed around his old body. Xavier furrowed his brows. His polite smile vanished. He did not understand why this old man was acting so stubborn. Judging from the way he acted, he did not know about the heavenly flame, or that this map fragment was supposed to bring someone to a heavenly flame. Sir, please just let me buy this fragment. If you are really unwilling to do so, then I will have to accept your challenge and take it with force, said Xavier. The old man laughed as he mocked Xavier.
You? Do you think you can fight me? You are speaking out of place, kid. Don't you think that just because you are some level 2 alchemist, you have permission to talk to me like that?
Xavier took a few steps back to the closed door. He braced himself for the inevitable fight. The old man did not waste much time. He jumped forwards,
shooting at Xavier. As he passed, icy air spread through the shop. A faint fog began to cloud Xavier's sight. It was then that he began to realize that he was in real trouble. Xavier activated his Q energy. Slowly, a cloak of Q energy formed around his body. He could feel that his power had increased. Immediately, he grabbed the broadsword ruler from his back and smashed it into the ground. He kept his hand wrapped around it. The old man was surprised to see Xavier create a Q energy cloak and a purple flame. It caused him to hesitate for a moment. Xavier used this to his advantage and tried to plead with the old man once more. "Sir, I have no bad intentions, and I do not want to disturb your work or get you in trouble. All I want is this fragment that I feel so drawn to. Please." "I've spent a lot of time and effort on this thing. Although I still have not figured out its purpose, I do know that it should lead to some sort of treasure. You expect me to hand it over for no good reason? In your dreams." From within the fog, cold laughter was to be heard. Xavier was about to reply as his skin began to crawl. Instinctively, he hid behind the broadsword ruler. A few icicles shot through the fog. They hit the broadsword ruler before shattering. As soon as they broke, they turned into a puddle of water and covered the broadsword ruler. An icy feeling overcame Xavier. It went deep into his skin. With a flick of his wrist, he summoned the purple flame. Immediately, the ice evaporated. "Even though my strength is not what it used to be after getting injured by this demonic thing, I can still handle a small fry like you." A white figure suddenly shot out from the fog, facing Xavier. The old man's sudden change startled Xavier. He tightened his grip around the broadsword ruler. The old man waved his hands. "Ice mirror." The white Q energy in front of him began to change. It formed a mirror in front of him. Xavier smashed the broadsword ruler against the mirror. Instantly, the force was repelled back and shot against Xavier. His body flew backward. The old man laughed again. He waved his hands, and a dozen icicles formed in front of him. With a flick of his wrist, they shot toward Xavier. Xavier raised his head. As quickly as he could, he jumped off the ground. Following a small explosion, his body shot upwards into the air. The icicles crashed into the wall, behind the spot where Xavier was only a second ago, shattering into thousands of ice shards. Xavier, still midair, rotated his body and aimed an attack at the old man, using as much force as possible. Xavier shot the broadsword ruler at the old man. The old man's eye twitched. He did not expect this kid to act so boldly. However, this did not cause him to show any mercy. Instead, he created numerous ice threads by waving his hands. A few seconds later, those threads wrapped around the broadsword ruler, covering it in a thick layer of ice. It slowed the broadsword ruler down, causing it to stop. He waved his hands again, and the broadsword ruler turned around midair, aiming at Xavier. With another wave of his hands, the heavy item came shooting at Xavier like lightning. Unsure what else to do, Xavier released his purple eagle wings and flew into the air, dodging the attack. "What? Q energy wings?" The pupils of the old man's eyes dilated in shock. A moment later, he shook his head. "No, that's not Q energy. That must be a flying D technique. Where did this brat get that from?" he wondered. Xavier used the moment of distraction to his advantage and aimed another attack at the old man. The purple flame in his hand flickered. A strand of purple fire shot out. It reached the broadsword ruler and burnt the layer of ice that surrounded it. After removing the ice, Xavier lifted up the broadsword ruler again, aiming it at the ceiling. Flapping his wings, he shot himself into the air. The old man watched Xavier from the ground. It was obvious that Xavier tried to escape through the roof. The old man did not attack Xavier. Instead, he grinned, showing all his teeth. The broadsword ruler hit the roof, yet it did not break through. Xavier was confused for a moment. As he looked upwards, he saw more ice. His heart sank. He did not expect that the old man would form another layer of ice so quickly. Xavier knew he had no chance to escape through the ceiling. He sighed and flapped his wings to descend his body to the ground. "A flying D technique, a purple flame, and outstanding agility. Rather impressive. You were far beyond any average master. I'll give you that, boy. Are you that disciple of the Misty Cloud faction's leader that everyone keeps talking about? Or are you the son of a powerful chief? Perhaps even royalty? Praised the old man. Great interest was in the old man's eyes, but the mocking grin did not wear down. Xavier gnashed his teeth as the faction of the Misty Clouds was mentioned. Silently, he cursed to himself.
Heard much about the leader's disciple? If they talk so much about her, she must have been training hard as well.
The old man touched the scar on his cheek. Even if you are the son of a powerful chief or royalty, you won't be able to take this fragment and walk away. You are just a kid. It won't be difficult for me to finish you off if I want to. No matter how much of my power has left me, hand me over the fragment, and I will let you leave. This would be in both of our best interests. After all, I enjoy my life in solitude, and don't need the town to chase me out for murdering a kid, even if that kid is a thief. The old man warned. Xavier bit his lower lip. In his heart, he cried out for Lao.
Master, please help me. I am no match for him, even if it is true what he said, and he is not as powerful as he used to be. I feel as if he was not just boasting. He really could kill me off if he wanted to.
Lao chuckled silently. His voice echoed through Xavier's mind. Indeed, he could have killed you several times by now. After all, he is 2 entire classes above you. Not to mention, the D techniques he possesses are no match to yours either. This fight the two of you had was only meant to test your strength, like a cat playing with a mouse before eating it. If he would go all out against you, you won't last long. Xavier swallowed hard. He thought as much. Eventually, Lao sighed. All right, fine. Leave it to me. I will take control over your body. Lao was unhappy, but did not ignore Xavier's cry for help. He knew that Xavier was young and had his limits. If Xavier were to challenge a high-level Q-master, there would have been no happy ending. Xavier took a deep breath.
Sir, I have told you that I must get this fragment.
He closed his eyes. The old man was stunned. He frowned. A moment later, he could sense how the power around Xavier began to rise. Suddenly, a ferocious force exploded from his body. The shockwave caused the old man to tremble. What is going on? How is this possible?